Hey, welcome back to Canadians Leading with Impact. I'm Kevin Crone, your co host, along with Troy Treleaven. We're excited about our podcast, the conversations we're having with great business leaders and thought leaders that are making a difference right now in Ontario. And we're excited about our guests this morning.
We are. I have the pleasure of introducing someone that has probably created more successful business people in Canada, I'll say, from a young age than anyone else. And I'm proud to welcome Chris Thomson, who's the head coach of Student Works Management, as well as the podcast host of Leaders of Tomorrow. And Chris, welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah, no, really excited to be here. And yeah, I know we're going to have a fantastic conversation.
Great. Well, Chris and I go way back. It was 33 years ago. I was calculating this morning, Chris, when I got to meet you for the first time. I think it was 1991, and I was in your program, and you
Yeah,
you hired me. I don't know
yes.
if that was a wise decision for you or not, but
It
it
was,
worked
it
out for
was
me.
Troy. It was Troy.
One
Definitely,
of the leaders that you built, right, Chris,
Yeah,
over the
that
years.
right
that's
on.
right. And I think what you're probably speaking to, Troy, is well, what had you done before to sort of get chosen? And that's some of the things that every year we are literally making bets. My wife's the CEO, I'm the head coach, and we basically don't make any money from October to May of every year, and we invest $1.5 million to sort of support the functionality of the business. And we literally bet $5,000, on each one of our operators. Is this person going to win? Is this the right candidate? And the types of things that we're looking for is number one, we're looking for people who are just tremendously ambitious. Like
Mhm.
just like you need the ooze. I want a big life. How do I get this? And I'm doing school, and then we look at things they're doing, and they're winning in things. Like maybe they're doing school. They turn from wanting to be a entrepreneur to actually being an entrepreneur. Now, just so we're clear, those types of things that they're doing is trying and failing at drop shipping, running a local landscaping business, a local window cleaning business. I was just chatting with a girl from out west, a young lady. She had a slime business. Earlier on, she had a bracelet business. Like all these types of things that showed they do the IB program. They get really great marks. They are
Hmm.
president or valedictorian, and but the biggest thing is they want to turn that into being an amazing leader, and they're seeing the confines. By the way, I'm one of the people think, wow, universities are amazing. They do so much great work. So, but they see the confines and they say, how can I separate myself out? How can I be a real difference maker? They see an incredibly competitive world, right? We're not now just our young Canadians aren't just competing against each other; they're competing against the whole world, freelancers, and you can work all around the world. So how do I separate myself up and be a top 1%er, a top 2%er, a top 3%er? One thing I always love to share is people think about being a leader, and they think it's all, I don't know, sometimes it's about the money, it's about this, it's about that. Now, I'd say there's three freedoms we're really looking for. One of them, yeah, we like economic freedom. That's something that is exciting. I get to, take my family on vacation. I get to eat out at a nice restaurant. I get to maybe have a nicer home or something. But because of the high tax rates here, it's not that big an impact, in many ways. So the two other ones I'd say are even bigger. When I'm a business leader, I get to decide what I'm going to do. I know you two gentlemen decided, hey, I want to run a podcast. I want to share the story of Dale Carnegie better, share the stories of the leaders that have been impacted by Dale Carnegie. That's why we're running this podcast. And you start to invest time in doing it. And then you'll see the impacts on your business, see the impacts, in the marketplace. And rather than someone told you to do something, you decided. And that's a real motivating thing for anybody of any age. And then the final thing is time freedom. We get to decide, hey, we're going to shut it off at 4 o'clock today. We know sometimes we'll go till 10, and work hard. But, we get to decide when we're going to work, which again allows a lot of freedom in our life.
Mm, isn't that true? Yeah. So I got to imagine, so when you're connecting to these young people, you're probably educating them a lot about these ideas because they've probably
Yes.
got like one dimensional, I'm imagining. I've always that way. They're pretty one
Hmm.
dimensional about what they see. And it's almost like, well, I remember it was rounding us out to be uh, really effective in multi areas of business, but also as a human too, which
Yeah.
what I took. Um,
Yeah, like I think you're so right. Like I think, one of the big things that I'm just such a believer in is mindset as a really, really powerful way. And how do we look at life? How do we look at things? So one thing that often people look at is how do we look at stress? Stress, first of all, the word was just created by Canadian Hans Selye in the 80s. Literally wasn't the word stress. And so, by the way, in the 80s, there was no mental health problem. Meaning, or
Right.
sorry, just a few people with mental health problems, right? Meaning people didn't talk about it. So this isn't necessarily a good thing, but they're recognizing but most people see stress as a bad thing. And of course, stress isn't a bad thing. I love to say, no pressure, no diamonds, baby. No pressure, no diamonds. So,
that's good.
so yes, we want stress. Yes, we want pressure that creates the best of us. Now, not too much pressure. Okay, not too much pressure. They talk, and this is a lot of what I'm sharing is out of the positive psychology movement. So they talk about getting out of your comfort zone. But you know how far you want to be out of your comfort zone? 4%. They talk about 4%. So just a little bit out of our comfort zone, a little bit out of, but if we're there consistently, powerfully, well, just think what we can create in a summer, think what we can create in a year, think what we can create in a decade or a couple of decades or a few decades like us, to really make an impact on our career.
Right on. What a cool perspective. And yeah, you made me think about the literature around getting into flow, right? With
Yes. Yeah.
I know Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talked about its challenge where it meets um, capability, right? And
Yes.
if they're matching, you can get into that flow state like Michael Jordan would talk about or things.
Yeah.
And as you're suggesting, that 4% out, just a little bit of stress really allows us to fully draw on our full capabilities and then optimize. And I remember again to call back to that's the when I worked with you was well, I worked on my own. You were my coach, one
Of
of my
course.
coaches, and
Yeah.
but the stress was so just enough that I remember, for example, having to do some marketing and going door knocking, for example. It
Yeah.
was out of my zone, and I
Yeah.
had a team of crew with me too. We were doing it, and but it was when we did it, we succeeded, and what a feeling of
Yeah.
accomplishment, and then
Yes.
this belief and confidence that I could do other things like this
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm also happen to report, Chris, after knowing Troy for about 30 plus years, his comfort zone is quite
it's
large.
wider and wider. Yes, that's
It's quite
exactly it.
wide. I have
Yeah.
seen it. Everyone has seen it. And
Yeah.
yeah, Troy lives there. He lives just
Yeah.
Mm.
on that
Right there. And it is funny, like, or not funny. We we actually really believe a lot in door-to-door marketing. And so we line it up to the idea of an elevator pitch. What successful entrepreneur doesn't know how to pitch their business in a short, succinct way to catch a customer or potential customer's mindset and to have them follow up if interested with that opportunity. So we believe, and we're getting more and more business now with online marketing and Facebook and things. We get more and more of our business over the years coming to us. However, if we could take all of our business and just have it come to us, we wouldn't do it that way. An operator needs to learn the way Troy learned, the way I learned, go and knock on doors, go and learn to start having a conversation. One of the things I like to talk about, Andrew Fitzpatrick, one of our amazing alum, shout out Andrew, but he used to talk about a door gets opened and a big shotgun's at the door. Now, literally, we're Canada. There is no shotgun, but it's a figurative shotgun.
end.
And then it's like, hi, my name's Andrew. And then the shotgun goes down a little bit. Oh, I'm at the University of Guelph. Oh, you know, I'm just working with some students with Student Works painting or Student Works window cleaning. And then we ask a question that is, sorry, we also start with happy Tuesday, happy Friday. And then the next thing is we ask a question that can't be yes or no. So, what are you planning on painting this summer? What are you planning on window cleaning this summer? And so we teach people how to engage, and it's lowering the shotgun to actually have someone have a conversation, and then staying in that conversation, to then finally getting them actually in the conversation, is the goal. And so that becomes powerful, because if you can't do that, how are we going to go sell the $1,000, $2,000 job on the weekend and really ascertain somebody's needs and really figure out what needs to be done if we can't do that at the front door? And then of course the real leverage of the business is, all of our coaches, all of our veterans are out with our rookies early on teaching these skills. And then eventually those skills are passed on to the rookies. And then they're out coaching their teams, as you mentioned, Troy. And then that's how we get leverage. Like, in the course of a summer, last year we did $43 million of the business. There's thousands of students who are working in our teams, who are learning these skills, learning about the concepts. And then of course the idea is that they gain more capability. So it's not just about painting a house, it's about becoming a leader. It's okay, painting a house is, how do I please Mr. Treleaven, and what will it take to please Mr. and Mrs. Treleaven, and these are the things I need to do. And so they're learning customer service management skills. They're learning production management skills. They're learning how to order product and then run a net profit management. And these are the types of things that they're learning by taking on the program.
Mm.
Wow.
And it's certainly not quite the skills we're learning in school,
No,
versus
no.
high
Yeah,
school
and well,
necessarily.
and no, for sure. And even if we like first of all, elite business skill. Some of the courses are like the case management programs that they'll teach at Western and Ivy. What a fantastic school! But a lot of
Mhm.
those are strategy, thinking like a CEO, thinking like a senior management team, which again, really, really critical. But
Great.
these are, you know, small business minded skills. And then, you know, like and you can see I've got lots of books in the background. I've got read hundreds and hundreds of books in my lifetime, but on leadership and management. But it's like reading books about soccer or hockey. Okay, well, that can help, but I don't get good unless I'm practicing with my stick or practicing with the ball. So it's the same thing. How do I get good at people management? I practice. Oh,
Mhm.
I was too pushy. Oh, I was too nice. Oh, I wasn't assertive enough. All the different things that we learn by actually practicing, by trying. And a lot of those are mistakes, right? Like kind of a movie. Mistakes, yes. Or mistakes, as kind of the weak-minded people think. No, like you can't learn without not doing it right. Like, and I think failure, and again, again, don't really like to use the term that so much, but not doing it right is the best teacher. We get, especially people in our program, they're so used to winning. They're the kids with the high marks. They're the kids who were the elite athletes. They're the kids who were the valedictorian, are really doing really, really well. So they're used to winning at everything. Well, here they're going to get lots of opportunities not to win. And
Mhm.
so then I learn, oh, okay, I did this, and just coaching. So again, I don't like to take away from what universities or colleges or high schools do, because they're already doing so much. It's just we do different things, and they can't do it because we're running a net profit business, and they're taking, our typical student is spending 20 to 25 hours a week around their school, taking this on, so they clear out their other extracurriculars and they're focused on running a business.
Mhm.
Right on. Now, your background, so in terms of how you gained all this insight into how to lead,
Yeah,
and you're building leaders now,
right.
could you give us a quick snapshot as to how did you find
Sure.
yourself in this position?
Yeah. So I guess I First of all, I guess I was an elite athlete. So I went to the University of Toronto. We won a national title together. I was eighth in the nation in my last year. I found out about this business in my second year. Previous to running this business, I had turned my entrepreneur, ideas into being an entrepreneur. I had 50 gardening customers that I developed through high school and my first year of university. So I was running a successful little business. I made $8,000 back in the 80s. Um, so that was probably pretty real money now,
Yeah.
but I I definitely could see that wasn't going to give me the life that I wanted, meaning I could make some pretty good money, but it wasn't, I know, providing for a family, leading a successful life. And I knew I was really tapped out at how much I could teach myself. So when I met somebody at U of T, one of the founders of this business, I learned about what he was doing, and I joined his program. He was one of the I considered myself like one of the first 10 people who joined the program in year 4, because they were one operator, then 2 operators, then 5 operators, and then that next year it was 26, and then it started to scale. Um, uh, and so in 1989, I was an operator for 3 seasons. I was a coach for 2 seasons. I became a partner. Then I became a VP for 4 years, and then I got to buy the business in a turnaround. And I've really put my life, my business life to learning and developing, and again, lots of errors in judgment, lots of, misfocuses over the years, to really develop and build the business that we have now.
Right on. Wow. So you started really hands-on, and something in you though said, I'm going to hang on with this. I want to, like,
Yeah, I
again,
remember. I
yeah, go ahead.
remember back in my second year of doing this, it was kind of funny. I think you're pointing to this is I think the owners of the business, and they're still good friends of mine. They were trying to make a living, right? Like that's what people do. They're trying to run a business, and not that they weren't proud of the business, but for me, I just saw what this business could be. And I remember a group of our operators, and we were at a bar after one of the events or something like that, and in the afternoon, and I was sitting there saying, hey guys, this will make such a difference in our career. We're going to learn this, we're going to be so further ahead. And now think back to that conversation, and likely they were probably going, Chris, just relax. How are the Blue Jays doing? I think it was pre-Blue Jays, but anyhow, just relax. It's okay. But I really, really was just passionate about what this business could do, what this business could give students, and then again, over the years, have seen us just do so much. One of my big, hairy, audacious goals is to create 1,000 millionaires. Okay, and so I put that goal out. I can't remember. I don't know if it was a goal when you were with us, but at a certain point they started talking about BHAGs and visions and missions. So I created one, and I would talk about it once a year. And then over a while, it was so uncomfortable to say it. Like,
Right.
what? Somehow, I'm going to create 1,000. How is that even possible? But we actually have a list that shows 250, and there's just now we have 350 leaders in our program every year. It is happening. Obviously that takes a while to create $1 million worth of wealth in our nation, but it is something that will happen. Will I live long enough for it to happen? No, but the legacy is going to be there. And by the way, as well, it's not me, it's co-creating, and it's co-creating with all the amazing people in our business, because again, this business doesn't happen because of me. It happens because of again, all the amazing people that we've done this with.
Mm.
Right on, right on.
So early on, boy, you really saw the vision of building leaders and entrepreneurs, and you saw what it gave that what it would give you as an opportunity
Yes.
with others, and it's like you've built this factory of
Mhm.
entrepreneur
Yeah.
entrepreneur sales, management, man, just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. One of the things I love to talk about as well is like a lot of old guys our age talk to young people and say, oh yeah, it's, you got to have a vision for your life and you got to do what you love. And I really love to sort of highlight that that's actually not the best way to think about a career. Okay.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I want to create a vision. Eventually it kind of gets created when people win. I'm sure I know you guys and you love what you're doing at Dale Carnegie and love what the work is that Dale Carnegie does. But in the end, it's, the first thing that has to happen is you got to figure out a way to eat. You got to figure out a way, how do I create value in the world? And remember, profit or value comes after contribution. So how can I contribute in the world? So one of the big things about me really loving this business was I was also good at this business, meaning I
Mhm.
learned how to please customers and
Mhm.
develop a team of people to provide great services, to paint people's homes. And then I developed how to develop team members to go and do that at scale. So I was really just, really good at that.
Mhm.
And I made great money at that. I provided great value to customers, and taught great skills, and a bunch of those people, those early years are millionaires now, but there was value being contributed right from the start. So that's something that a young person really needs to be thinking about is and that a lot of times it starts out as just hard work, and certainly there was a lot of hard work as well that this was, and maybe it doesn't look so exciting, and certainly now, having seen the success, and you can look at, like last year, pretty exciting. It was kind of really pretty momentous, at least in my mind, is um, one of our most successful operators. He worked with us 18, 19, 20, and he went on to run Morgan Stanley's commercial real estate division right around the world. Okay,
Jeez.
so getting into his mid to late 50s, he retired. I remember having lunch with him back in 2008, but he was kind of just unreachable as people at that level. Like, there's just no way to reach someone because
Yeah.
everyone wants to reach somebody like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
So, but um, he retired, and I didn't notice he retired, but all of a sudden I noticed Guy Metcalf liked one of my podcasts, and I'm like, what? And then I went, oh, online LinkedIn. He liked my podcast, and then I know one of his best buddies. We reach out. He's another Goldman Sachs guy who's gone on and done incredibly well. And hey, Joe McLean is Guy. What's going on with Guy? Oh, he's retired. We connect, and he goes and talks at our orientation. He jumps on our pod with us. And so, if you really think about that, here's somebody who literally spends decades apart and then says, no, I want to come back and make a contribution to that organization. So it really speaks to, what are we doing? What are we creating? And it, obviously, I think it does a lot to help our operators who are coming in understand this. But remember, when you're 20, you really don't care about a 50-year-old thinks. A little bit, because you understand success,
Mhm.
but you way more care about the 24-year-old, right?
Mhm.
And so we also have lots of 24-year-olds or 28-year-olds really crushing it. But who does care about those is the parents.
Mhm.
So that's a big thing and remember, our parents are involved in the decision making of people joining our program, and they jump on our site and they jump on the internet and they say, hey, does this program make sense for my son or daughter to consider doing this? And
Right.
then and one of the things I hope to do is give them those types of things. Other people who are really successful venture capitalists or really successful people. I know, Troy, your coach is one of our really amazing
Nick Eves. Yeah.
alum, Nick Eves. And Nick Eves was the CEO of Woodbine Entertainment, and now he's the chief operating officer, a venue officer at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. He
Right.
continues to come out and speak at our events, and so people like that just do an amazing service. And again, that's the other thing as well. One of the cool things about successful people is they are generous, right? Like that's something as well that right?
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
That is so true. That's a common factor. You're focused on others. You're focused on creating value for others. You're generous with your time to do
Yeah,
that. It means you're focused on others. You're not focused on
yeah.
yourself, so
Yeah,
to speak.
yeah. And it is true, like, it's one of those things. I think this is also something that we try to teach is, again, I think the media does a really bad job at portraying successful people. A lot of times I think it's because sometimes people in the media are actually unhappy at how things are going for them. So it's they look at really successful people and they try to find their flaws, and there are flaws. No one is flawless. But to me, if someone's running an organization with, I don't know, thousands or tens of thousands of people, like, could it really be that bad? They're all choosing to go to work every day there, and it's like the Jeff Bezos things. He's created so many millionaires, like, just like it, just quantifiably incredible success. And then there's so many people who are really happy with his customer. Count me as customers. Count me as one. It's just incredible what we can do. But somehow he's a bad guy. Somehow he's not thoughtful, and it's just not fair. But there's a jealousy that's out there about really successful people, or I'm not sure what it is, but we try to, again, train and coach and counsel that you know and of course there can be a psychopathy of leaders, that there can be leaders who, again, are powerful and mischievous, or doing things with bad intentions, etc. So those are all true too. But most people, and you see it in Dale Carnegie, so many amazing leaders get developed there that know they're starting from good intentions.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I was curious while I was listening to you and thinking about all your decades of your body of work of building
Right.
people and these leaders and generations. And our work, Troy and I were always with management teams, leadership teams, and different
Yeah.
businesses and industries. And invariably, one thing always seems to come out as a change or a challenge that they're facing, which is working with new generations, the new
Yeah.
generations, right? The
Yes.
and now that's been happening for us with this conversation for generation decades too.
Yes.
And so everyone thinks it's unique to them, but it's been unique to every generation. But
Yeah.
I was just curious about your perspective on the nuances or differences that you're seeing in the generational, like these new generation of workers, given
Great
the
question.
things like AI and
Yeah.
content creator madness
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the impact on entrepreneurialism. Like you're
Yeah.
working with like top, five,
Yes. Yeah.
1%. So that's unique all on its own,
Yeah.
for sure. Any
100%.
perspectives on that?
So Kevin, I remember the first time I started hearing about that generational stuff was when Guy Metcalf was 18, 19, 20, and that generation, or the older generation, was talking down about those people. And
Right.
then, it just has never gone on. And this is inherent in people. So there's one of the dynamics that really is going on. And there's a great book called The Fourth Turning, if people want to really get into it, but that each generation grows up, and then as a result they look at the next generation and they say, we're going to do it differently.
Hmm.
They did it wrong, or they did it wrong in these areas, and they change, and then they change. And so that the fourth turning is about how that actually impacts history. And I'll let people, if they're interested, you can Google it. It's really great. um, but so this is just what's happening. So number one, I think, what and we don't spend that much time on it because it really doesn't. We just have a new generation coming in, and
Right.
so, but how do I manage it? Is number one, I guess. One of the advantages I have, and I'm probably one of the most tuned in 62-year-olds to that 18 to 25-year-old age group there is.
No
And why
doubt.
is that? Because I've just never not been tuned in and to what's going on. And so, first of all, start with good intentions about what's happening. And again, as you mentioned, we're of course dealing with the really elite kids. So always the elite are the elite, and they're always like this idea that they aren't super motivated. How crazy. They are. The idea that they aren't hardworking. How crazy. So um But there are a lot of things really facing young children, young students these days, younger people these days, that are really significant differences, like the housing prices getting way out of whack. And the difference between buying a house when we were younger, or even when my dad was younger, and the gap between income and buying that house, monstrously different. So that changes strategies for people. How do they go build wealth? And just also, the impact of social media. Like, I just think, I tell the story, you know, on Friday night, first of all, I was an assertive, extroverted guy picking up the phone. Marilyn, what's going on? Troy, do you know anything? Kevin, do you got a party? What's happening? And then a lot of times I would, strike out, nothing's happening. So I'd sit home and there's two shows to watch, Love Boat or Fantasy Island. Like, yes, this is pathetic. Okay. And I'd eat some ice cream, and, I'd wake up the next morning. Now, today, people see on their feeds all the fun other people had, and you weren't invited to it. Like what a challenge! Like the FOMO, the fear of missing out, the the challenges of competing against, the here's my best life on Instagram. Of course, I'm not on Instagram, but here's my best life on Instagram, and we're not sharing the challenges. So one of the things we do in our business is, yes, we are about wins and sharing wins, but we really are about, and what are you struggling with, and what's really difficult, and where do you have problems, so that we really want to put what's not working on the table, so people don't just think everybody's happy and showing their vacations all the time, right? And by the way, as well, like, what's wrong with showing your vacations? Just so
Yeah.
we're clear. On the other hand, isn't
Yeah.
that nice? Oh, Troy went there. Great. Like, isn't that nice? Oh, wow, that's cool. I'm going to connect with Troy. I'd like to go there, right? So it's all how we're looking at this. But as generations, we need to see. For me, I've gained a lot of my computer skills over the years from our operators, from the coaches, and just learned. Oh, here's how you do this. Here's how you do this. So as an older person, one real way to get out of tune is fall behind. In technology. So it's keep leaning in, and keep taking advantage, and not taking advantage, but learning from. So it's, instead of here's what's different and they're wrong, here's what's different. What can I learn from them? What are they gaining from looking at that? Like, we look at our phones and we see, here's the problems with phones. Well, okay, these are problems with phones. So here's all the advantage with phones. Like, I can do my banking on my phone. My phone helps lead me here really easily. I can listen to all sorts of amazing podcasts on my phones. All these advantages. I can stay communicating. I'd show pictures of my new grandbaby, Ella Ray, all these different things that I didn't have when I didn't have a phone. And I need to make sure I'm not taken over by my phone. One fun thing that our operators will do, and again, these are things that they do to hold each other accountable, they'll hand their password over to another operator, say, Troy, don't let me spend more than 12 hours a week on these, types of apps, the TikTok, the Instagram, and if I need more than 12 hours, I'd have to call you for you to say yes. And of course you would say no. So it's something that they're managing and making sure that these phones don't take over their life. These are a lot of the tools and ways that they're trying to manage success. I've always looked, by the way, as well, that if you look at your success, I know when you were growing up, like I was growing up, people used to watch 40 hours a week of TV. Okay. Now, successful people never did that. Okay. So that's something that successful people managed to do, at least cut out 20 hours a week to go and do more important things, and again, build their businesses, work out at the gym, spend time with their families, different things. And so that's the same thing now, but now it shows up on their phone. It shows up in Instagram feeds, shows up in TikTok. And it's probably even harder. Sorry, it is harder to turn down. Not watching Fantasy Island or The Love Boat was not that really hard. It was really desperate of me just to watch it.
Yeah, so much more immediate. The
You gotta love
grab.
Gopher though from Love Bug.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, love that. Love your um your business is so fundamental, like teaching the fundamentals of
Hmm.
coaching in business and in life, social skills, sales skills, customer service
Yeah.
skills, management, inspiring people, present, it is just these fundamentals that's just incredibly inspiring. In so many ways, we're in the exact same business, Troy,
Mm.
than
Yeah,
uh,
Yeah.
for sure.
as you,
Yeah,
as
well, one thought that I thought I might help or share a concept that we spend a lot of time on in our business, and it's like, hey, well, I imagine a bunch of business leaders are listening. So, what do you do when people don't show up on time? What do you do when people are what we call out of integrity? So,
Mhm.
first of all, one of our values is the four referability habits. This is a Dan Sullivan of the Strategic Coach thing, but it's four referability habits: be on time, do what you say, finish what you start, say please and thank you. So if you think about those four things and go, how many people do you know who do those things 90+% of the time?
Mhm.
Not many.
Mhm.
Okay. So first of all, we try to coach our operators and leaders how to do those more and more and more. So that makes us different as a painting company, a window cleaning company, providing service and value. But also, I look at as I see senior leaders, um, more and more people do that. Like we were all early for this podcast.
Mhm.
Okay. That's expected.
Mhm.
Of course we were. Like that's just the ante to get into the game of being a top performer. There's no way Troy's showing up late. I've had many meetings with Troy's over the years. Troy's always early. So that's just what people do. So first of all, we teach it and we expound on it. We enroll people in these ideas that this is what it is. But then people aren't always on time. Now, what do most people do? They shame them, they blame them,
Mm.
they cajole them. Troy, you know better, okay? Or maybe they just walk over it. They don't say anything.
Mhm.
People show up late for meetings, nothing said.
Mhm.
How's that? Both of those. There's a problem. Blame, don't say anything. Okay,
Mm.
so what do? We have people restore their integrity.
Mm.
So, what does that mean? That means, hey, David, what was your commitment? My commitment was to be on time, or my commitment was to have this done by this time. My commitment was to do 15 hours of marketing last week. And what did you do? I did 12 hours. Okay. Now, by the way, immediately people want to get into, but it was cold, but my car broke down, but my mom told me to do this, but my school was, and we say, no, 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 no. So you made this commitment. This is what happened. Let's stick with the canvassing. 15 hours, 12 hours. So, what are the impacts of that in your life? What are the impacts? What would your business say to you?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And by the way, we're saying it neutrally. There's no,
Right.
Troy, you bad guy. Troy, you're in trouble. We're just having a conversation. Okay, Chris, yeah, let's think about that. Well, 15 hours, 12 hours. I got 12 leads. Likely I would have 15. Okay, 3 leads, good chance will turn into one estimate. One estimate will turn into, let's call it $800 for the business. So $800, 20% profit, at least that's $160 I just lost.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. What else?
Mhm.
Well, I have less work for my workers. Sure. What does that mean? Oh, good chance maybe I'll have to disappoint them. They won't have work for the whole summer. What else? I'll be able to do less work in the community. What else? And we just keep asking, what else? Oh, okay, great. So that's kind of, we like to say, first order consequences.
Mhm.
Let's look beyond that. Well, if I only do 80% of the marketing that I'm supposed to this summer, and my goal is to do 200,000, then there's no way I'm going to accomplish that goal. You're right. Right? Is that fair? Yeah, there's no way. So I'm likely going to do this. So how much really is this costing you? What's the real cost of it? It's 80% or it's 20% of 200. That's $40,000. 20%, that's $8,000 I'm staring at
Mhm.
every week that I'm just letting go. you know. Now, of course, a little bit of a made up number, a fictional number. If they're only doing 80%, and we'd say that. Or would you really do that? Is the 200 goal even likely? Or is it really, would you maybe not even get your business started because you're not doing the work necessary? And then one thing we love to sort of say is, okay, imagine this 20 years from now. How's your life if you're only doing 80% of the things you say?
It just hits home, eh?
Yeah. And they go, oh, wow, geez, yeah, like there's no way I'm living this big life I want.
Well,
There's
they go
no
like
way.
this. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Point taken. I gotta go.
Well, but we're not done. We're not done, Kevin. So
you take it.
we're not.
Yeah.
We're not done. We're not done. And so it's then okay. So we're getting the impacts, and then the third part of it is, so what structures do you want to put in so that you're more reliable? So hey, I'm going to set up with a buddy. When they go canvassing, I'm going to go canvassing. Or sometimes, could you call me? And sometimes the coaches will, again, a little bit micromanaging, but sometimes they will for a while to do that. Or there's different structures they can do. Or I'm going to maybe have a trip about our Mexico trip, or a goal on their computer or their phone, on their screen, on their phone, to remind them of what they're working for. So we're big believers that people get the lives what they want because they see the impacts. Like they see the impacts of what a great life is, and what the commitments I'm going to need to make to really provide that.
Well, you're teaching, something Troy says all the time, or we say, I don't know, the price of success is paid for in advance.
Yes. Yes. Love that.
The coaching that you provide, that's what I really seen that as, is coaching, helping people really think it through.
Yeah.
What they do has ripple effects and matters for a long time.
Yes.
And you're helping them see that picture, remind ourselves of that vision, of what it takes, because you can quickly lose it, right? Like you can forget about your goals, you can forget about your aspirations,
yes,
get lost and whatever. And just good coaching and support is reminding everyone and actually thinking it through versus just glancing over or shaming or
yeah. And by the way, as well, like one of the things we try to do is we try to distinguish like really, really great performance. And remember, our team are all about wanting to be that amazing superstar performer. Overwhelmingly, those are the people who really choose to do what we choose. So one concept, again, another concept I love to teach is this concept of willingness. So Troy, parents, teachers, coaches, professors say, do these things to be successful in your life. What do most people do? You can answer that question.
Right. Anything, not that.
Not that. Yeah. So there's a term called half-assers. Those people are not in the program. Good chance they're not in the business school that this kid's from. But go wander around your business school or wander around the engineering course. Who did their homework last night? Now, don't ask, observe, because you'll be a pariah if you ask, but just observe. Are people doing what the professor said? Are people doing what the coach said? Are people doing those things? And the answer is not all that often. Now, a whole bunch of our kids, yeah, I do that. Okay, great. Now, I'm a huge basketball fan. Okay, so I've been season ticket holder for 31 years. I go to 5 games a year. What does Pascal Siakam do? LeBron James, Fred VanVleet. Do they do what the coach says? And the answer is a tricky one. Yes, and so much more.
Yeah,
so much more.
Steph Curry, or you name it.
But they do so much more. They do what the coach says, and then they have a trainer. They sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. They have a dietitian. They do all these things, and so that's a way of looking at real success. We look at Michael Phelps, 4 years in a row, never missed a workout, trained every day in the entire Olympic cycle, wins 8 gold medals. So if you look at hyper superstar performers, this is what they're doing. So So again, when we're looking and enrolling our team members, they're like, yeah. So with those types of things, we're seeing more and more as people stay in our program. We're no longer talking about the 15-hour a week commitment. They're hitting those. They're achieving those. They're locked down.
Wow.
Everything I say, I do. And again, sorry, not everything, but it's just becomes way more and more. I'm setting up my schedule. I do my schedule because I understand the impacts of my schedule. I understand what that's going to mean at the end of the summer, and you know, in the end, we can't focus on the result. What we'll do is what we'll do, but we can focus on the inputs.
Hmm.
So if we just stay focused on the inputs, and at the end of every day, I said, here's my schedule. I already told you guys my schedule today. Here's my schedule. I'm going to deliver. Here's the things I'm going to do. I'm going to deliver. And remember, we work in an ecosystem. So quote unquote, I'm one of the owners. I'm the head coach. Well, don't I get to do exactly what I want to do? Well, yeah. And my business won't work very well if I don't do the things I promised. Because the things I do, a whole bunch of people are looking at me for the things I'm going to accomplish today because it all has ripple effects in your business. So we all are reporting to somebody. Okay. That's just what happens. We all deliver value to the marketplace. And once people see that again, they go, oh, okay. And again, if we don't see that, then our life's not going to go as well.
Well said. Wow. It's so clear that your fundamental philosophy is, well, it's my interpretation of it, is to have this
Sure.
give people a sense of reality, give people a
Yeah.
sense of reality compared to where they're going.
Yeah.
They're in a context of timeliness, in the sense of uh, e- Kevin and I often talk about this. Like, there's a sense of urgency and a sense of timeliness. Urgency, in a sense, is like almost trumped up, whereas timeliness is reality based. It's like, I got to get this accomplished to accomplish this,
Yes.
and I got to believe that your fundamental view is helping these young people see reality, which maybe they haven't had as chance to do as much. and
Yeah.
and this leads us into the next question. And as we're thinking about this podcast, it's Canadians Leading with Impact. If you were to I can't, such a weird question to ask, but as you think about Canadians today and how we can raise our standard of living and we can
Yeah.
compete against the Americans, but globally as well, what would you see? It would be some fundamentals that Canadians should
Yeah.
think differently or do differently, or whatever you
Yeah.
recommend.
Well,
What do you
I
see?
think in the end, it's individuals, like the individuals in my business. It's the three of us stepping up and taking on the best of ourselves, like aiming for that far offshore. My goal is to become the best Chris Thompson I can be. I'm not stopping until I do. I'm not stopping until they throw dirt on my face, and just working continuously, not because I have to. My financial goals have been met, but it's because I want to. And so, one of the things in our business as well is what you want is you want. This is another concept. It comes from a great book about how to lead from 10 to 25. A great positive psychologist. I can't remember his name, but basically the whole idea is high standards, but high support. A lot of people have high standards, no support. Do this, idiot. Well, that doesn't work. High support, no standards. Oh, it's okay, Troy. Here's your homework. It's okay, Troy. I'll bring your lunch to school. No, no, no. High standards, high support. How do we support people? How do we see the best of them? How do we see the best of Canadians with lots of support? And again, it really is up to each and every individual Canadian. Like, one of the things I love to say is, literally in the background, you can see my bookcase in my apartment here. That was the bookcase when I grew up, in the self-development bookcase in any of the biggest bookstores in Canada. That was the bookcase. Now there are, like, just so many books, so many podcasts, so many opportunities for people to learn. So what are people doing? And again, I think one of the challenges of Canadians is it's just such a wonderful place to live. It's a safe place. It's incredible consideration for others and a sense of community. And really, that's we don't want any of that gone. And, we are at risk as Canadians to continue to slip and lose our financial success because people aren't stepping into the best of themselves. And by the way, as well, I encourage all Canadians to do so because they're just going to feel better. I wake up, and this is another thing we teach, by the way, in all our coaching sessions, is one thing I do, especially during the early part of the year, sort of February to May, is I call our top performers every week and I congratulate them. Hey, how to go, and well done, and how do you feel? And one thing I try to sort of share is, typically that week they did all the things they said they were going to do, and they had this experience themselves. Maybe they worked a little bit harder. Now that week that wasn't so good, let's think back there. How did you feel when you went to bed those nights versus now? And they go, I felt better when I worked harder. I felt better when it was more of a contribution. I was the best Troy, David, Samantha I could be, and I felt better. So that's one of the things we try to parse out for people. So again, Canadians need to, consider they're going to feel better when they roll into that best part of themselves. And I know both of our organizations are about creating amazing leaders so that can happen.
Yeah, right on. On that note, and we will wrap up shortly, I know you're a Dale Carnegie graduate. In fact,
Yes.
Nick Eves, when I was working with him, I saw his manual in the back seat of the car. The first time I'd heard about the Dale Carnegie course, I said, could I look at your manual? He goes, I won't help you much, but yeah, sure. And so, but that you sponsored him back in the day. And
Yes.
I'm curious, what's your relationship to Dale Carnegie?
Yeah, so I did the 13-week Dale Carnegie course. I did it with my girlfriend at the time, now wife. We had a whole bunch of people doing it. I did the 2-day speaking course when I, how to take my public speaking to the next level, and that's how I re-engaged with Troy. I didn't know Troy was running the franchise at the time, so that was super fun, and I gained all sorts of things, learning. I continue to teach people about the basics of how to worry and how to stop worrying and start living consistently. We teach that in the course. And our veteran training program always starts with the fundamental Dale Carnegie work. Every year we teach that book. And again, Dale Carnegie is literally the start of the self-improvement industry. So many of the great wisdom that we have is Dale Carnegie. Again, how to have somebody, live a great reputation, give them a great reputation to live up to, which has turned into, seeing the best in others and all these things he's done. He's just so fundamentally impactful on the world, and it's so great that you two are, and others are, keeping this wisdom alive. So just wonderful work.
Well, thank you very much.
Amazing, Chris. What I was thinking as you were talking about all that is, I've been thinking about this notion for years. You keep going back to the positive psychology days, and
Yes.
and I just don't. And we grew up in that, and like Jim Rohn, and
Anthony Robbins, and
all just the guys we just consumed it. And I wonder, it's like there's an absence of it, like in my mind. Like, where are these guys these guys?
Oh, I think there's so much of it now. Like our students are just filling up. They're Promosi, and there's all sorts of people out there who are just they're all over there. So it's so accessible. And our students are listening to podcasts and hearing and reading and watching YouTube videos. How do they close better? How do they influence people? So there's so much. And as long as they're leaning into that rather than video games and other things.
I would say, though, it's more about them than anything else. Like, yes, there's lots of content to consume to make every successful decision and discipline you'd ever need and want in life. But it's, what are you looking for? Are you, what podcasts are you listening to? And so I think, my observation here and having a great conversation with you is you're one of them. You're the one that's
thank you.
helping us lead, build this generation, and making a difference for, of course, all generations, but still today. And I just love your fire, your fundamental clarity of building success in business and coaching others to do it.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. So yeah, so people can tune into the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast and hear about a bunch of amazing students and amazing alumni. We post a podcast every week. So thanks.
Right. We'll put those links in the show notes as well. And
Awesome.
And Chris, to echo Kevin, you are one of those leaders. You are leading, have done so for many years, and we're just so grateful you invested your time with us today. And we wish you continued success, obviously, and thank you
Fantastic.
for being who you are. So appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Cheers.
Thank
You bet.
Chris.
Take care.